Hi, welcome to the lecture on environmental adaptation of animals. On this second video, we will now discuss on the energy cost of the exercise. So far we have learned, okay, we have different ways to measure the energy consumption in animals, and depending on the way of transportation, it affects on the energy costs as well as the speed of the travel. And the speed of the travel affects always, but it depends on the way you travel. So the optimal travel speed depends on the mechanism. And in swimming fish, the oxygen consumption depends exponentially in the swimming speed. So faster you are swimming, more energy you are using. And that's why the metabolic rate is increasing in J-shape power function. So there is a function with 4 different constants that are different for different fish species. And it's not always this way. So when we are running, the oxygen consumption is increasing linearly with the speed. And it depends a lot on the size of the animal. So in the previous videos, we show that, okay, we learned that, okay, the smaller the animal is, the more oxygen is used per gram per hour. But also, when it's moving, then the steepness of this linear correlation is it's more steep in laboratory mouse than a large dog. And the idea is that, okay, faster you are running, more oxygen you need. But when we would make for this large dog that, okay, how much oxygen it used for 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers, you can see that the total energy use is actually smallest in moderate speed, maybe 7 kilometers per hour. And then the birds are usually flying quite fast. When we are looking how the airplanes are moving, the speed is quite essential for gliding. Otherwise it will stall. And that's of course for the airplanes that's quite dramatic. But that's why also the flying is easier when the speed is high enough. And this causes a U-shape relation in these flying animals. So the metabolic rate is decreasing when the speed is increasing, but then later on when it's flying very fast, then they need more energy. And this doesn't mean that, okay, they are gliding, but they are also when they are flapping their wings. So that affects that, okay, we have different energy consumption, and it affects either when we want to travel long distance or when we want to fly as long time as possible. So the slow traveling takes more time, and that's why the energy consumption has some minimum at certain speed. And depending on the purpose of the movement, staying aloft or traveling distance, they can minimize the energy consumption. So when the animal is flying a long time and trying to see where there is any prey, they have different speed than when they are traveling as far as possible. So they have different place for the minimum. And actually the animals are quite well knowing it. And what is the best way to travel with the different transportation methods? If we compare different size of fish, there is a linear correlation on logarithmic scale that, okay, the larger fish needs less energy for traveling. And they consume, the largest fish consumes maybe 1 joule per meter per kilogram. But then we have flying animals, all the way from flies or mosquitoes to bats and birds. They are quite much on the same line also. And the same size fish requires less energy than the flying animals. And then all kind of runners, either on lizards or horse, they are on the same line again. And as you can see, this red line is above the blue and black line, so meaning that the same size animal that is running, it consumes more energy than those that are flying or those that are swimming. But then we have swimming human, and we know that, okay, now we are using a lot of energy. But also when the duck is swimming. So these terrestrial or flying animals that are swimming every once in a while, they are not very good swimmers. But we are still better than mice. So the mice are very ineffective in running. So energy consumption to compare their body weight is quite extreme. And in these gray dots, you can see all kind of machines. So we most of the human designed machines are much less effective than any animal to compare the body weight, except the trains. What about then when we are doing the same thing? So swimming. So what are the factors that are affecting how effective we are in moving from one place to another? Well, the fish have been developed very well in the diving or swimming underwater. To compare other animals that are living underwater, whether they are mammals like dolphins or whales or seals, but also in squid or shrimp that have been living there for ages. So the fish is still much better. And of course, compare the surface swimmer, we are very poor in the swimming. So it depends quite a lot on the shape of the or anatomy of the animal, that okay, are they using a lot of energy or less energy? And if we would compare the human, which is a very bad swimmer, to, for example, to have the same speed as the fish, we should have quite much the same energy consumption as we are using when we are driving with bicycle. Of course, when you are driving bicycle underwater, that's very slow. But when you are driving on a landscape, you can drive very fast. So we should increase our body functions quite drastically to be as good swimmers as fish. Thank you.